There are so many books out there about Henry VIII. They tell you about the extraordinary things he did, and yet they don't really piece together the person inside. What did it feel like being that person, taking those extraordinary decisions, killing all those people? What was he like as a child? What brought him to that point? And I wanted to get inside that. And that's where the idea for VIII came from. He was born into a world just out of civil war, and his father had won the throne on the battlefield. He had actually had to slaughter his rival to win the crown. What that did to Henry's father, what sort of man it turned him into, obviously had a huge impact on Henry. He was also the second son. He wasn't expected to succeed to the throne, and in his father's eyes he was a failure, he was a nobody, he was the spare who was not going to be needed. When that is contrasted with his feeling inside himself and his growing feeling that he was somebody special, this sets up the dynamic of his really fractured relationship with the outside world, and it's what pushes him ultimately, when his golden future doesn't arrive, what pushes him over the edge. There are so many similarities between Henry's story and Anakin Skywalker, this hero who turns to the dark side, becomes Darth Vader. That's a story that fascinates so many teenagers, and in fact there are so many parallels. Henry was a glorious youth who turned to the dark side, and his world of Tudor England really is no more strange than the world of Star Wars. I think what a lot of people don't realise is what he was like when he was young. He was incredibly talented, athletic. He came to the throne when he was only 17, and he was hailed as the king who would bring in a new golden age. He believes he's destined for greatness. On top of that, age 17, he's anointed king, and in those days it was literally believed that once you were anointed you became a divine creature. Your flesh was divine. What does that do to your head, age 17? Not only have you got absolute power, but you believe you're God's representative on earth. And when things don't go right for you, and yet you believe you're God's chosen, it can't be your fault. So he starts to look outside himself, and that's how he retains his idea of himself as good and other people as evil. And as he moves into being such a monster himself, the irony is he sees himself throughout as good. I got this feeling that all time is present, and it's there, it's just separated from us by a thin film if we could only get through it. And I suppose in writing this book, that's what I've done. I've finally broken through that film because I've taken myself inside Henry VIII.